Hello, thanks for having us on the program. So we're a group of UAlbany Navigators through the UAlbany Navigator program, and we're just going to have a roundtable discussion about our experiences through the program as social work students and developing professionals in the field. My name's Emma Horvath, and I'm a second-year Navigator.
My name's Emily Vivian, and I'm also a second-year MSW student.
My name is Cedric Walton, and I'm a first-year MSW student.
And I'm Amanda Ely. I'm also a first-year Navigator and student at UAlbany.
So one of the things that I really felt the UAlbany Navigator program gave me was really a thorough understanding of the ACA, the Affordable Care Act, and also a background in how the policy went into place and seeing that in practice. So when I was in my first year learning in my social work policy class about the ACA, I saw how the nuts and bolts of the policy went into effect and affected the clients I was working with. So it kind of gave me, bridged the gap between micro and macro for me.
I feel the same way. It's definitely helped me in field, understanding my clients a little bit better and being able to explain things to them that they might be going through, but also to help with classroom discussions, and I have a little bit more to put into those discussions now that I know more about this policy.
And it definitely helps on the perspective of the micro practice, I think, for me, because I'm a macro student, and to have the one-on-one with the clients is really helpful for me to understand more of the macro side of things, for sure.
And I don't know about you guys, but I feel like being a navigator has also given me a lot more confidence dealing with clients in field, but also, like I said before, in class discussions, it helps to have that sort of background and be able to relate to clients in that way. And it's definitely helped with communication skills and just being able to relate to the client where they are.
I think that's definitely something I've seen working in such a variety of populations, is that you really know how to meet the client where they're at, because you have such flexibility, and one day you'll be at one site, next at another site, and it gives you sort of the range of placements that you might be in as a social worker, and it really gives you the confidence, like you were saying, to go into any situation and feel confident working with clients with a wide cultural competence.
Right.
And also, it kind of reinforced why I am in school. You always have the doubts of, am I doing the right thing? Spending a lot of money. Am I in the right field? And when I met with my first client, which was a family, at the end, the mother gave me a really big hug, and she was crying, and that just kind of like put it all together for me. Like, I'm in the right place. So.
I agree with the confidence part as well, Viv. Like meeting with different clients, you get I don't know, you feel more confident. Like, my field placement is at a school, and I wasn't as nervous as I thought I'd be dealing with like kids and their parents and other faculty. So I think the Navigator program has definitely helped with that.
Yeah, and kind of going off of the whole field experience, I was kind of disappointed that I would only get experience in 2 different agencies, but this job has helped me to sort of have multiple different field experiences all in one. Some days we're down working at the shelter down on South Pearl Street. Sometimes we are at the refugee center, and so it's really given us a wide array of diversities that we've been working with, and agencies as well.
Yeah, I definitely find that. I thought going into social work, I definitely wanted to work with the aging population, and we don't work with them as navigators. After 65, there are very few people that we can help. And so I've really seen a different side of social work that I would be really interested in doing in the future. Like the jail population has really been an important client interaction for me, and I found that to be one of the most enriching experiences working with the Navigator program. Mm-hmm. And like you were saying, Amanda, that it reaffirmed why we chose to be in social work. I see our role as very much advocacy for the client and education that they might not be getting from other avenues and other brokers or other people in the field. And so I think what we do as navigators is really important social justice work as well.
Mm-hmm. And how do you all feel like this job has helped us going forward for our future career in social work?
Well, being that we're employees and not just interns, it gives us like a tangible piece of information to put on our resumes that definitely will help in the future when we're looking for real jobs. And like Cedric said, it's just different types of experience. Like field is different from what we're doing. We actually get that professional experience, and people like give you the professional.
They see you as a professional,
They see you as
not
a
just an
professional and
intern.
not just an intern. So that definitely is a different feeling as well, and it feels good. I do know that.
And I know Viv and I both experienced this looking and applying for our second year field placements, that we sort of had an edge professionally coming in with that competency and being able to say, you know, we're experts in this area. The ACA is new and not many people have this working knowledge that we've developed from it. And I think that for me has given me something I can talk about in my interviews, but also something I can bring to wherever I work. I can say I know a little bit about that. If I'm not the one to help, at least I know who to refer them to and have that sort of knowledge I can put into practice for my clients.
And kind of like the same idea where my placement is, as soon as the social worker in the elementary school found out what I do, she was like, can you come here and do that, please? We have a need for that. So just bridging the different organizations and bringing them together is definitely a really valuable experience as well.
I would say like as a navigator, like we're seeing more as, you know, like you guys were saying, the teachers, and like at our internships, we're the ones who are learning. We're the ones being taught how to do things, and it's also like bridge the gaps because I work at USCRI as well, and like a lot of the immigrants, their kids go to Giffen, and so the staff are talking about how they try and get in contact with USCRI sometimes, and like they don't know the environment there, so they say, is it busy, is it this and that, and I'm able to give insight because I'm there. Yeah.
Definitely, you're seen as the expert there and the person that, like the go-to person. And go ahead.
Also, with what you're saying, you see the inner workings of USCRI. I think that's something I've really seen from having a diversity of settings, is that I've seen how USCRI works. I've seen how Planned Parenthood functions. I see what it's like to work in a jail, and I also see what it's like to work at CCRM. And so from having all those different experiences and settings, but also from rural to urban, I think it really informs the differences and also the different strengths, different barriers that people experience, but also how different agencies decide to operate and what their sort of background is when you're working with them and doing outreach and trying to set up a relationship.
Right, exactly.
It's also helped with learning how to leave it at the office, which was a problem that I was concerned that I was going to have, because I definitely, most social workers do, we kind of overly care. And I'm learning definitely how, because I have to go home and finish a paper for school, so I have to stop thinking about my last client, or even at the internship, same idea, but with this it's more of a professional, you know, side of it, so leaving the work at the office before you go home, it definitely has helped with that as well.
And sort of going off of that, there are so many skills that I feel like I've developed because of this job that have helped me not only as a social worker, but just in life in general and as a student. And I don't know about you all, but I feel like my time management skills they've definitely improved since I was hired here, because you're dealing with so many different clients at once. You have to remember all of these different things. Then you have schoolwork on top of that, any other jobs that we might have. So that has really helped. It's something that I feel like definitely sprouted from having this particular job.
I agree.
I think you're balancing so many different things. Not only are you balancing Navigators with your field placement with class, but within Navigators, you're balancing all the different clients on your caseload. And for some, it might be a simple appointment that gets resolved in 45 minutes. But for others, it might be a client that you continue to see and something pops up, something changes for them, or paperwork wasn't accepted, and things, you have to follow them and you have to make sure that you see them from start to finish. And that's sort of another thing that I think Navigators gives that's different than an internship or field placement is that you become solely responsible for those clients. The sort of the buck stops here, and that gives you the sort of the responsibility in those clients and to those clients. And so you can't just pass it off to your field supervisor if something gets too difficult or if bureaucracy gets too complicated. You follow it through.
Exactly. What other skills do you feel like we've developed as a result of being a navigator?
I would say communication. Like I thought, like at first, I looked at outreach as like on campus, like tabling and handing out flyers, but it's to the same population, it's to students. But like I went to the Latin Fest and it was a completely different population, a completely different language at some times, and it just forces you to use other people and get help and things like that.
I definitely think what you were saying with the networking and the networking different populations and learning how to use your resources, that's something I've learned, that I'm always on the lookout for a new site or a new need. And like Amanda said, she went to her site and just mentioning what she does, that was an automatic sort of networking experience, and know that you're always on kind of as a social worker and you're always looking for those opportunities.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like my patience has also developed a lot as well. I always
Yes.
felt like I was a pretty patient person, but this job has definitely improved that. Sometimes you have those really complicated clients and you're thinking about a million other things, but it definitely, you might need to make multiple phone calls for this one particular client, but then you realize at the end, how much it really helps them and how much they appreciate what we're doing, and it makes it all worth it.
Yeah, I've definitely found that too. That some clients can be more complicated, but that's sort of how you balance your caseload. Not every client's going to take 5 phone calls, and so it's kind of giving the time and attention to what each client needs.
Right, definitely.
And on the same token, that's like assessing a person's needs as well. So we're learning how to read other people and decide what they need from us in a way as well. So that's helpful.
And on assessment, I very much lacked knowledge of financials, sort of terminology and taxes and how that all worked. And I think a lot of people don't come into social work with that background of how taxes work, what counts as taxable versus non-taxable income. And that's really been something I've had to learn, on the ground and kind of get going with it. But now I think I have a really good working knowledge of how somebody's finances might look and how to help them even assess their own finances.
Yeah, I agree with that too, especially with the small business side and the self-employment side. Like now we have so much more experience with even just how they run their businesses as well. And
yeah, and it sort of helped also in terms of teamwork and working as a team. Because this is such an independent job and we're all kind of working independent of each other, but at the same time, we also have a cohort of, 5 or 6 other people to rely on and ask questions of, because I feel like everyone has had situations that they're not familiar with, but somebody else definitely is. So I can see that coming into play as a social worker as well in the future, where you're relying on your coworkers for expertise that you may not otherwise have, but somebody else does.
yeah, that's something that definitely has helped me a lot, because I am an individual type of person. So working with you guys has definitely helped me feel better about reaching out and being part of a group, and it feels nice.
Yeah.
It's good.
I found that too. Like if I met with a client and I needed help, I could send, one of you a quick text and it'll get back really quickly, opposed to calling. Yeah.
Definitely. It's definitely helped in more ways than one.
And I think more generally, just the last skill I can really think of, unless you have anyone else has anything else to sum up, I think it really does it deepens your sense of empathy. You really go down that road with somebody and understanding what health insurance means to them. I've had clients cry with me about, why they desperately need this care and why it, needs to go through, and what sort of level of care that they need. And I think just being there when the moment with somebody and being able to show them compassion in a often bureaucratic process is really important.
Yeah, and then you're also advocating on their behalf, which I know is something that we'll definitely encounter down the road. So it gives us that edge too and that experience as well.
And I've seen that meeting with clients, or I'm getting a phone call to make an appointment, and I'll often hear like a relative or friend in the background asking for a specific navigator they met with because they were so helpful.
So it's obviously going both ways. I think just the clients that I've heard from you guys that I've had have all appreciated really this experience, but we're also learning at the same time, and it's one of those service learning opportunities where we're able to get that experience but also help the client and the communities in really meaningful ways. So that's all I think this roundtable has to say for today, and we're very thankful for this experience and the opportunity to share it with y'all.